like, you know, building a business and then also bringing up a child in isolation is a tall ask.
I don't know how she did it.
It's like, this is incredible.
Right. Your past is not your present. Like, you have every opportunity to change the way your life looks.
You're from Canada.
Yes.
How did you end up moving then? Was it because like you met your husband? Like, I want to know all of that because I mean, we were just discussing and everyone who's listened to my podcast knows that this journey has not been easy for me.
Yeah. So I grew up in Canada. And when in 2014, I met my husband. Prior to that, we were just newly friends. We had just started dating. He sent me flowers on Valentine's Day. That's how, you know, our Venus story had started.
Wait, that's really cute.
Yeah. He sent me flowers on Valentine's Day, and what I got wasn't what he ordered, which started the concept because we realized there was this huge gap in the market. There was no transparency in the floral industry. It was typically like a third-party service website you were buying from or a florist. There was never really a floral product, and we just thought that there was this huge white space. But, you know, once we had started the brand, it was either we lived together in Vancouver and carry on, or I moved to New York. And, you know, I decided to move to New York.
So you guys started the business like a year into you guys starting to date?
So we actually started the business or started working on the business, and we were dating for like 3 months.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So this is the thing though, you know, like what, like people always ask me like, oh, like what's it like to work with your husband? And I'm like, when you know, you know.
Yeah.
Like I just knew that Nish and I would be really good partners. And I'm sure you feel that, or you felt that way with your husband because I mean, why else would you go into 3 months into dating?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We like right when we met, we just felt super connected, and we had really similar why am I cutting it? Like, I can't even think. We had a very similar upbringing. So we're both Punjabi. Our family, our dads are entrepreneurs. So we grew up in family businesses. And we just had like the same hunger in life. Everything that we wanted, our goals were really similar. We just felt like we were, you know, ending each other's sentences. You know, we just had this hunger in life, and I think it comes from entrepreneurial backgrounds. Our parents are entrepreneurs. We grew up in family business, and we just had the same goals and desires in life. So it was just, it felt right, you know, and our relationship progressed really fast. Like our friends thought we were nuts. Everyone was like, what are you guys doing? You know, we were seeing each other every 3 weeks. Either I would fly to New York or he would fly to Vancouver. We were inseparable. Like we just FaceTimed every night. We had to talk to each other. Yeah.
That's so cute. But honestly, I do think it's a when you know situation, both for like business and like same with relationships as well. And I do want to zoom into something that you said about coming from that entrepreneurial background and having that hunger because same. And it's really funny because my dad as well, he's like a very successful entrepreneur. And you know, I feel like when you come from that background, like you also have something to prove. You know, you're like, I would be like so ashamed if I wasn't successful in my own right. You know what I mean? Like because I was like, if I don't go into my family business, then like I have something to prove. You know what I mean?
100%. And, you know, my parents came from Vancouver. Sorry. My parents came from Punjab, right? So, you know, there was not a lot of opportunities in India. They're immigrants. That hustle that they had, like the hard work that you put into your business, like the late nights, the no vacations for years, you know, that's the hunger, that's the discipline that they have, and that's the resiliency that you build. And I think that, you know, watching my dad build his business, my mom, stay-at-home mom, which is honestly the hardest job on the planet,
so
to raise 4 kids, and, you know, your husband's working crazy hours, and, you know, I don't know, he made it work, and I think he made us join that ride. He was like, if you want your cell phone bill paid, you have to work at the store. If you want gas in your car, you want a car, you're working at the store. Like we weren't making very much money, but he was teaching us, you know, the fundamentals of business.
It's so funny, like very similar in that sense where like I remember like when I was in school, my parents, their whole thing was like, they were like, if you do shit in school, but you are the hardest worker, we don't care. But don't come over here and like don't like not work hard and like get by. Like that's not what we want, you know? And they're like, even if you got all A's, but we saw that you weren't working hard, then like you failed.
Yeah.
You know, like it was always the work ethic, you know, and like dedication to excellence that like I grew up with. And I can see that it's obviously the same for you as well.
Absolutely. Like you have to put in the hours. You have to, for us, it was like, my dad made us work through the day and then do night school. Like all three sisters and brother, we all had to go to school. And I was never a studious person. I did not like school.
Yeah.
Always very creative. And I liked to do things like actually do the work versus sit in class and learn and whatever. So, you know, that was great because during the day I was working with clients. I was doing sales. I was learning a lot about product and design and then going to school at night.
That's incredible. So then what, like fast forward from there to like when you actually end up starting Venus et Fleur, like what was your background? Was it that you were working in your family business and that kind of gave you the background of what you like, basically business background essentially?
Exactly. So I was working at the store since I was 14 years old and I wore many different hats. I started off as a receptionist and then I went into purchasing and buying. And that was kind of the career that I got into at my parents' business. And I think that taught me a ton about trends and just like, you know, being able to purchase the right things for people and their needs. I also was working on packaging because my parents own a manufacturing plant for bathtubs and sinks. Completely different, but I had already like had those contacts. So when the idea of Venus et Fleur came and when we initially started, it was the hat boxes. I had already had those relationships, which just was very serendipitous and kind of worked out.
That's honestly so smart. And I honestly like having that manufacturing background because let me tell you, like when we went into Array, I mean, we didn't come from this background and it was like very difficult to figure out those different things. And it's like, what a gift that you had that background to go into your business with. It's pretty incredible.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that I had that. And I think just having, you know, someone like my father to lean on. I don't think he was very excited that I wanted to start my own business though. Like, you know, they had built their company. They wanted us to take over the succession planning, of course, right?
Yeah.
But there was this hunger in me that he saw and he wanted to support where he could. So if I was testing things out or trying to like, you know, put the flowers in a specific way or put together shipping packaging, he was kind of, you know, giving me a lot of guidance because there was a manufacturing background there.
I love that.
And now with Venus, we're a manufacturer. We actually manufacture every single thing.
Wow.
Yeah, we own the entire supply chain.
Wait, Seema, that's a big deal. And I don't think that someone who's not in it will understand, but what was the process of doing that? Because most people, just for people who don't have context, I want to explain, typically when you start a business, you don't own the whole supply chain. Like you have different suppliers, you have a different manufacturer, like you're kind of like, it's like a piecemeal approach. So when you decide to own the whole supply chain, that's a really big deal because it's not just the business that you are kind of selling to people, but it's also managing the whole back end of the supply chain. So that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
I mean, bravo.
Thank you. It's a lot to manage. Yeah, we're fully vertically integrated. We have like strong partnerships with all of our farms. We do all the R&D with our farms. We bring all raw materials to our facilities and we put everything together. And then we do all the shipping. So we handle everything from start to finish and everything is designed within house.
So what was the process of kind of owning that entire supply chain process? Was that the plan right from the beginning or like what was kind of like the step-by-step basically?
Yeah. So no, that's not how we started. We initially had started with classic flower delivery. So like the classic flowers you would see in, you know, the bodega or in the New York flower market. We just had the 5 to 7 day flowers. But the issue that we were having is the whole point of our concept was that we wanted to deliver quality quality results and quality floral delivery. And if you're shipping something and the flowers are wilting or dying, that's not really you're not off to a great start. So we really just wanted to control every piece, and we weren't able to because we couldn't control when they were bringing in the flowers. So our whole thought process is we should own this relationship from the farm directly. And when we did meet our farm, we realized that they had this sector of preservation that they were really trying to build. But marketing was not really their strong suit, and we thought, why not go into partnership together? So we took over the rights of the Eternity Rose, and we perfected the actual preservation process with certain things that were really important to us, like touch, texture, shape, and scent, and then color uniformity. So we worked on that. And then in November of 2015, we launched the Eternity Rose. So we had initially started in August with classic flower delivery and pivoted our business model to the preservation and preserved flowers.
I love that you talk about the fact that you pivoted, because oftentimes I think the sign of like a very good entrepreneur is people's ability to pivot really quickly and not be emotionally attached to the original idea that they had. So what was like, why did you even decide to make that pivot? Like, was it really was it picking up steam? Like, is it just that you saw that there was this unique opportunity to do these like eternity roses?
I think we wanted to offer a custom opportunity for our customers, right? And we only had 4 colors at the time. And I just wanted to give them more options so that they could be the designer and feel really good about putting together the arrangements. And once we had discovered the preserved florals, we just saw that there was a lot more we could offer to our customer base. And it got me really excited from a product lens because I could design into a ton of different products. So, I think everything kind of just happened at the right time. And we were able to grow the business pretty quickly after that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember really distinctly, it was like, I'm going to say probably earlier days of your business where like all these big celebrities started posting about your brand. And that's actually how I saw it. And I was like, this is really, really beautiful and it's super innovative. So do you remember the first time that happened and like you really saw the business start to completely take off and you were like, holy shit, this is going to be something?
So I think when we initially had started, we were gifting a lot. We knew that was part of the investment of the brand is like, you have to gift the product so people can
we did
see
the
it
same
and
thing.
believe it and understand it. And I think we had launched this product that no one understood what it was. They're like, are they paper? Are they fake? Like, what is this? Or is it silk? We're like, no, they're real flowers and they'll live for an entire year. But you have to see it to believe it. So we were gifting a lot. So the largest celebrities that had posted in the beginning were the Kardashians, and that was no easy feat. We had sent their team flowers and, just so they could see it. They loved the flowers. And a few weeks later, I followed up and I was like, I would love to send the entire family flowers. And, the manager who's still a very good friend now, was like, hey, you can, but I can't guarantee that they're going to share it. But if you want to, you can totally send it out. And I was like, I just want them to see it. I hope they like it and they understand what we're trying to do. So this was, I want to say like in January of 2016. Fast forward, it's Valentine's Day. We're 100% sold out. Sunny is out for deliveries, who is my husband. His brother's also helping, so he's out for deliveries. We have like a bunch of friends doing deliveries. I'm working in the showroom. And we were having like a couple of customers coming up because we had a 3rd floor walk up where people were coming up and picking up orders. And I had a friend with me and she was helping me. And she's scrolling through her phone and she was like, Seema, stop. Khloe Kardashian just posted Venus. Like, look at this. And it was like the logo, everything. Then 2 seconds later, Courtney posts.
Stop it right now.
Like static posts. And then I think Kylie and Kim both put it in their Snapchat. That's when Snapchat was really big. Stories weren't even a thing at that time. And I just remember, like, I looked at our follower count and it was just skyrocketing. We were getting emails from like different press outlets. Our phones were ringing. I was just like, oh my God, what is happening? And we were screaming. Like I still remember this feeling so distinctively because it was exhilarating. Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about, where something happens and it just like you're like, oh my God, what's happening? Like what's happening? Like it's almost like sheer disbelief.
Yep. It was crazy. And I never in a million years thought they were going to share it.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted them to see it. So, you have to shoot your shot. Like always try.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that your attitude is exactly the right attitude that new business owners should have, whereby, I think that this is a mistake sometimes that new founders make, that they send product out with the expectation that they're going to get a post. And fact of the matter is that is probably not going to happen.
Right.
But in the instance, like the 1 in 100 instance that someone like really major posts, that is the thing that can change the course of your business altogether.
Absolutely.
And I mean, like I've spoken to so many founders where this story is like something that most of us have in common, right? Like in different scales. Like you had the Kardashian. Like I still remember the first big person like who posted about us was Melissa Wood, right? And like
love her.
She's, the best. But that was like our first moment where I was like, what's happening, you know?
Right.
And like back then when you're just, it was like 2 months into our business and it was wild, you know? So
amazing.
I cannot even imagine like the scale of the Kardashians, and not just one, but all.
Yeah. It was insane. We did not plan. And I think that's one thing that we learned very early on is like protecting the supply chain and really understanding the planning function. And I will tell you, we're about to be 10 years old next year. We just hired a planner. Okay. So if I could give anyone any advice, hire the planner in your business so you can be prepared for scale and growth. It's so important.
So then what happened back then? I mean, you were sold out and then all of this was happening. So like what started to happen? Like how were you kind of addressing the consumer demand?
Yeah. So our demand was really high. We had to keep ordering flowers. We hired a supply chain expert. One of our friends, actually, he went to college and had like elementary and high school, I think, with my brother-in-law. So we hired him. I think he'd worked for like a year or something at a different corporate business. So he joins and he started helping us with that supply chain function as we geared up for Mother's Day, which also became a sellout because we didn't have data. Like we had just started. So we had this demand, we fulfilled the demand and then sold out. We were like, okay, we need to this needs to be more scalable. Like we're not buying enough inventory. We're not buying enough flowers. Like, we need to figure out this formula. And luckily, after we had a couple of months of data, we were able to make better choices.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's really interesting the sellout being kind of like a blessing and a curse. A blessing because at the beginning you're like, oh my God, like how exciting. But then you're like, shit, like
you're leaving money on the table.
Exactly. Like we launched MB1 a few weeks ago and we sold out of 6 weeks of inventory in 5 days.
Oh my gosh, congrats.
Thank you. But I mean, think about it. Like we're 4.5 years into our business and Nish and I were so mad. We were so mad because we couldn't have foreseen this because it was a complete freak. I mean, this was like we had planned, we'd like done all the supply chain calculations, but it's just like when it happens, you're like, oh my God, like people are wanting to order and you can't fulfill and it's like the worst.
The demand is there, right? But you guys are the best at it. So your customers are going to come back. And I think that's so important is you stand for quality and like that's one of our brand pillars. It's innovation, quality, and design. And we stand by that with everything that we do. So in terms of scaling, you always have to think about the customer, right? Like do not ever stray away from your vision just so you can scale your business because those customers aren't going to come back if your quality changes or your design changes. Or, your pillars change.
Truly. And the thing is that I see a lot of people kind of like do a quick cash grab, like, okay, let me cut corners and just make a lot of money in like the present. But the thing is that you don't build longevity or a strong business by cutting corners, and customers are quite discerning these days. Once you lose them, they're never coming back.
Yeah, they're smarter than ever.
Yeah. So
they really do their due diligence. They're reading the reviews. They know.
yeah.
Right?
So
you
can't bullshit, know? And like it's crazy that you guys are 10 years and I didn't realize it had been so long or almost 10 years because I own like 2 or 3 bouquets from you guys and each one is absolutely immaculate. Like
I love that.
It is beautiful. It's perfect. And it comes and you're so excited and it's really incredible that you've kept this up like so many years down the line, like that's
so important. It's really, really important to us to keep like the quality as high as possible. Innovation is really important to us as well. So we are constantly trying to be better than we were yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I never want to do the same thing I did yesterday. It always has to feel fresh.
And I think it always has to feel different from what everyone else is doing. Like that's what I like to think of as an entrepreneur where I'm like, I need things to be different. Like I don't want to do the same old tired shit that everyone else is doing. You have to be ahead of the curve.
Totally. Absolutely.
So you guys just launched peonies.
We just launched peonies. Really, really excited and really happy about it. It took us 5 years in R&D.
Oh my God.
5 years. It's been like such a dream of mine to launch this flower, but it is really, really delicate. It has very, very thin petals. So it just wasn't working with like any of the preservation techniques that we had tried. And finally, last year we ran a test and our Japanese farm successfully preserved our peonies. Our flowers actually take a year for the entire process because we have to grow them. We have to plant them, grow them, and then preserve them. So there was a long waiting game.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it just launched like last month, I think, right?
Last month, and we're trying to keep up with the demand.
So it's been like, I'm not surprised because it's so many people's favorite flowers. Like
everyone's favorite flower.
Yeah.
And it's a seasonal flower. It only grows for 5 weeks within the year and they die within like 5 days, the fresh ones. So to be able to preserve the beauty of them is a huge, huge like milestone for us. We're so happy that it's been achieved.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And like, again, it's really about staying ahead of the curve. And actually, like from there, I want to get your opinion. Like, I'm sure that you've seen like copycat brands, right? Like anytime anyone is successful, there's always people trying to come and like, replicate you or like try to do the same thing. When did you first start to notice that? And I guess like, what did you do?
Yeah, look, it's very frustrating to do all this hard work and, put in so much time, have your team put in hours and, for it to be fully ripped off. Some of these guys literally copy like the copy written on our website, the image styles, everything. But I think for us, our focus, again, another brand pillar, our brand pillar is innovation. So we're always focused on what's next. And you're always going to get ankle biters. You're always going to have people copying you if you do something great. But the focus should be that like, all right, what's next? Like, what are we going to do better? Let's go do something smarter, cooler, and more innovative. So that's always been my mindset. I try to be positive. I always try to look at every situation in a positive light, but I won't lie. Like it is frustrating sometimes. And I think you just have to, protect yourself. So hire a lawyer, make sure you have patents and trademarks and, do those things from the beginning. So for us, like we hired a trademark attorney, like right when we had started to trademark a lot of the things that we own. Like we own a bunch of trademarks and patents. So to us, that's like very, very important. And I would give that advice to any founder, especially if you're doing something new.
Yeah. It's very smart and sound advice. And also, what you're saying about your attitude as well is absolutely, I think, the right way to think about it. Because I think when you are spending your time like worrying about all of these like people who are coming to copy you, which will inherently happen, I think, when a business is doing well.
Right.
Then I think you lose the head start that you have to like, do something new and something innovative and like, you know, like something completely that the world hasn't seen before, you know, because you're like worried about fighting off that competition or like trying to prove you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
move on.
Just
like
move on. Like, don't worry about them.
Mhm.
They're worried about you.
Exactly.
Go focus on what's next, you know?
Yeah. So I
That's
mean,
all you can do.
and you guys have clearly done that with the peonies because I've not seen anyone do that. I didn't even think it was possible. It's really
It is
freaking cool.
It's taken years, and I think, you know, for us, again, quality is so important. So we would never launch something that we wouldn't be proud of. And I think you just got to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So you also are a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about balancing motherhood and business because those are two full-time jobs.
Yes, they are. Yes, I'm a mom. My son is 2. You know, I think it's all about prioritizing your schedule and making sure you make time for your family. Um, it's super important to me to give him quality time and like undivided attention. And I don't want to be texting or checking Slack or anything like that. So I do bedtime every day. At least I try. So the moment I'm home, it's just us time and we'll do bedtime. We watch his little show and we spend time together. And then the weekends, we always like to walk around the city and just like take him to get a bagel or pizza, and he'll play at the park. And you know, it's really wholesome, and to me, it's very important to spend a lot of time with your child and make sure they're getting undivided attention. You know, but I won't say that it's all me. I have a support system, and I'm so grateful. Like I would not be able to do it without, you know, my team, and the help I have. My mother-in-law is really supportive. I have a nanny, and I don't know what I would do without them.
I mean, look, I think it's really hard to keep up this narrative of like, you know, women can do every single thing. I mean, even when we look at it anthropologically, like we're like tribal people, you know, like
Right.
we're tribal beings. And, you know, historically, like we did used to have help in the form of like friends in a community, and doing like, you know, building a business and then also bringing up a child in isolation is a tall ask. So
Totally.
having that support system is,
Like,
I
don't
imagine, very
know
important.
how. I'm sure you had like your grandparents around, right? Or
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
family around. Like I grew up with my grandma, like taking
Same.
care of all of us in one. I don't know how she did it. God bless her soul. Like she had like 10 kids in one house, and like my mom would be working, my dad would be working, my aunt would leave her kids with her. So like, you know, just that village that you have to build.
I mean, it's important. And I'm the same. I grew up with my grandma, you know, my parents, like my dad was working, my mom would work with my dad sometimes. And, you know, I also think like it's really nice because I was able to have this very strong bond with my grandma. And I don't think that would have happened if, you know, I didn't have the relationship that I did with her when I was little. So
absolutely. Like I learned how to speak Punjabi because of my grandma. So
I love that.
I love it so much, and I want my son to have that same relationship with his grandparents. Like he should have that wholesome connection with them.
That's very special.
Yeah, very important.
So someone actually had asked, this is in the audience questions, but it's relevant right now. So I'm going to ask you right now is, can you do a breakdown of your day just because like since we're talking about how you have a kid and then you also have a business?
Yeah. So every morning I love writing things down. I'm like a to-do list person, and I like pen to paper. I want to cross it off and get it done. And it really makes me feel like I got something out of the way. So I like to write in my journal in the morning, just like how I envision the day to go, and also my to-do list. I have kind of lost my meditation practice, not gonna lie. I used to be a really good meditator. I need to get back into it. And then I will get my son ready with some support. Like my nanny comes in the morning, helps me, and then I take him to school. And then I'll go to my office and I'll take my calls. I try to do time blocks actually in my calendar. So you can do a million meetings, but you'll actually never get anything done. So I try to do time blocks where I actually do the things I need to get done. And then Sunny and I work together. We'll sometimes have lunch together, and then finish up work, get home, try to hit the gym, and then I do the bedtime routine. So busy.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot going on. What about with your husband? Like, any tips for people who want to get into business with their partner?
Yeah, I think it's really important to set roles and responsibilities from the get-go. So him and I have always had mutual respect for each other. And one thing we said from the beginning was that, we weren't going to cross each other on our decisions. So he would be the owner of this department or owners of these departments, and I would own mine. And ultimately, the person who owns that department will make the decision, but we'll collaborate when we need to. And I think that's worked really well for us. I'm on more of the front-facing side, so everyone always wants to say something about the brand or, marketing or a campaign. But other than that, like, it works great. I think that's a really good rule to start from the beginning, whether it's your spouse, your partner, or a co-founder relationship.
I couldn't agree more. It's the same with Nish and I. And it's funny that you, like, the first thing you said was that we really respect each other. And like, that's
Right.
the first thing I say as well, that like, in order for a partnership to be successful, honestly, business or outside of business, that mutual respect has to be there. And you're right. I mean, dividing things up and knowing who makes the decisions where,
Mhm.
I think is so incredibly important. And also that, again, that respect that like, okay, I trust that my co-founder and my husband, or just even co-founder, is making the right decision in their department, and I don't need to be out there like overriding their decision or trying
Right.
to, like, that's
Or
crazy.
helicoptering everything that they're doing, like respect is so important in every aspect of any relationship. Like I say to a lot of my friends, if he doesn't respect you, you'll know, and that's like in a dating relationship. If he doesn't respect you, then it's not going to work. But that's with any friendship, with your parents. Like, you just have to have that respect and be a class act.
I agree. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Okay, audience questions. What are some of your favorite self-love or self-care practices?
I love getting a massage, and I love lymphatic drainage. So I try to go every week. And when I was pregnant, I had it, I think, almost every week.
Mhm.
And then I love the reformer. I love reformer Pilates. I try to do that. I think it's a great hour for me to just be against me and do what I need to get done and fight through.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I feel the same way. I feel like a workout is like meditation in that sense. You're
Totally.
just like out of your brain and in your body, and it's just a different kind of challenge.
Absolutely. And I've been like really obsessed with Joe Dispenza recently.
Oh,
Like,
love Joe Dispenza.
so good. I want to go to one of the retreats.
Same.
We should go.
No, for real. Like, I'm dying to go. I read his book, Becoming Supernatural, I want to say in like 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is incredible.
Right.
And I've
You
been
can totally rewire your brain. Like, you can
Absolutely.
completely change the way you think. So your past is not your present. Like, you have every opportunity to change the way your life looks.
And I think we are such a product of our own perception about ourselves, and like we set our own limits, so you do have the power, like so much power in like yourself and what you're able to do to change your circumstances. So I think his work is incredible. So I love that you love him too.
I love him.
Okay, next question. What is your best career advice for someone in their 20s?
I would say focus on doing something really, really well. Do not try to take on too many different side hustles. Like, focus on one and do it really well, because I think it's quality over quantity,
Yeah.
And I think in this day and age, everyone's just trying to do as much as they can, and they're not doing it great. So focus on one thing at a time.
I love that. Pure excellence.
Yes, absolutely. Operational excellence.
True. This has been amazing. Tell everyone where they can find you.
I am Seema Bansal Chadha on Instagram, and my brand is Fleur.
Thank you so much for being here. This was
Of
so
course,
fun.
so fun. Thank you for having me.